Hello and welcome to the GitGud Podcast, episode 6. We are back. Manus, how you doing?
I am great.
That's simple.
It is that simple. I mean, I'm better than great now because we just had a couple of weeks where it's summer and vacation and things happening. So I was more alone with things as you were more stepped away, which means I obviously missed all of this. So having it back is a real treat.
Yeah, it's perhaps like a good jumping off point. We'll just get real from the start because usually it's dad chat. We'll have to loop back to dad chat, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it's been 4 weeks since the last podcast, so about a month in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
And we were all of best intentions, like, hey, I'm going to do a podcast every 2 weeks. That's going to be no problem.
Oh, we almost did actually.
Yeah, and like then we had microphone gate because we have a new microphone for you, and so it was a case of we need to work out like how does this recording work over Discord to make sure it's all good. And we got that set. We said, oh, we'll just put it back a week. Nothing will happen in the week that will affect anything.
Yes.
And like meanwhile, I was like that Manus guy. He's too comfortable. He's like had it too easy. I should go see a doctor. That'll really mess everything up. And so, yeah, I had what could best be described as like throat issues. This is we're going to sound weird, but like you occasionally, if you swallow food, it can not feel good going down. And my voice was a bit hoarse. And like usually, I'd kind of like put all this to the back of my mind, but it happened a few times. I was like, okay, I should see a doctor. Just to check everything out. And so I did. And in my head, what would happen is I would go to the doctor and the doctor would say, oh, okay, it's probably this. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah. And I'd be like, brilliant. Thank you very much. And then I'd go home and forget about it. And that did not happen.
No, not at all.
I went to the doctor and said everything. And the doctor was like, oh, we're going to need to look at this. This sounds not good. I'm like, oh, now I'm terrified. Please don't say this.
No, you're supposed to say,
yeah,
it'll be fine. Don't worry. Go on vacation. Have some fun. We'll see to it afterwards. No, not this.
Yeah. And so went to the doctor and had a blood test done. The blood test wasn't super great. It wasn't like, hey, this person is normal. And so that in combination with the symptoms, the doctor's like, oh. It's always like, there's two phrases I hate to hear from a doctor. One is sinister. That is a bad word to hear in an appointment.
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
We want to make sure it's nothing sinister. It's like when you say sinister, you mean cancer. Like everyone knows what that means. Like just say the word. Don't talk around it. Then the other thing that kind of freaked me out is doctor was like, so you could be seen next week, right? And like if you're in the UK and you're used to the NHS does nothing quickly unless it's bad. If it's bad, they move quickly. And so they were like, so you can come next week, right? And I was like, I am out of the country. I am meant to be relaxing on holiday. And the doctor was like, okay. Okay. And I was like, none of this is making me calmer. And so I got that referral, and then the referral was for the Wednesday after the holiday. So all of this was happening, and it's kind of keeping you in the loop and the few people in the community in the loop. And it just became 2 weeks of hell. Is just the easiest way because I'm sure a lot of people aren't like this. I'm sure there are a lot of people for whom like this is they can see the forest for the trees, so to speak, and they think, well, the chances of it being this are actually kind of small. And when I got the referral letter for my appointment, the letter is like, look, 9 out of 10 people who are referred here are fine. Like, don't stress too much about it. But you don't think that, or certainly I don't.
No.
I'm like, I'm the one in 10 that's going to be like really bad. And so there's nothing you can do but wait. Like that is, you're left with your thoughts. You're left with, well, this is bad. Or you know, that's the assumption, this is bad. And it did, you know, if I'm honest, it really affected me on holiday. You know, it was meant to be, hey, this is my recharge time. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that anyway, because like young people on holiday require a lot of attention, it turns out.
Yeah, they do.
Weird how that works.
And neurospices too. Oh my God. Dude, you were not supposed to relax that holiday.
No, that was the fate, was just like, this idiot thinks he's getting a holiday. No, what he's getting is stress in a different location. Like that's his benefit.
Yes.
And so I had that, and then came back, and I will say, actually, the worst period for me was the anxiety after coming back from the holiday, just waiting for the appointment. So that Friday to Wednesday, I was just useless.
Yeah.
Like, my poor, long-suffering wife can attest to this. Like, I was just like,
now you're back and you're just waiting. At least before you were away, right? You're doing something and you know this time has to pass because it's like vacation time, right? But now you're back and nothing really on the menu means you can just wait and think and overthink, and the anxiety builds. Yeah.
And because you are then, we are not. Little hot anxiety tip for all you anxiety people out there, my brothers and sisters. We are not that conscious of our bodies 99% of the time. You don't actually think about it. So when suddenly you're thinking everything in my throat is a problem, and you're very conscious of your throat, that is an issue, and you will feel things that are very normal, but you will tell yourself that is a symptom of the end times, is what that is.
Yeah.
And so, like, the physical symptoms that anxiety can manifest are so, like, there were days where I could barely talk, like, not because of anything really other than that anxiety, that tightness in the throat and things like that. Anyway, this is all to say that I then, yesterday was all my appointments, and I got checked over pretty darn thoroughly, had a camera down my throat, had ultrasound on my neck, like had the works, shouts out to the NHS, and yeah, got the all clear. And so all that stress that had been bundling up for like 2 weeks is just gone. I slept like a baby last night, and like it feels like I can breathe again. So
newborn.
This is it. There's new Bruce. I will never be anxious again. And so, like, it's been. Yesterday was a good day. Well, my first appointment was at 2 p.m. So it was waiting for 2 p.m. and then it was after that. Once I'd got kind of the all clear, and I was so much calmer. I rang my wife, spoke to a few people, let the Discord know. Because I appreciate I'd been a little bit noped out in some of that stuff, and so now it's a return, and like I guess what we were going to talk about is like, well, life happens, and
yes, it does.
It does, and sometimes it hits you out of nowhere where. Something happens with a loved one on an idle Tuesday that you never expect, and then you just have to deal with that, and you have to work out how to pick up the pieces. Sometimes it's something to do with yourself. Sometimes it's if you're like a family person, it's your family and things like that. These things happen, and in a hobby where we'll often say comparison is a theft of joy, it can be very hard feeling that you're not painting and not doing anything and not kind of keeping up with stuff and kind of watching from the sidelines, even if it's the best thing. Like I painted throughout this process. I wouldn't necessarily say I painted the best, but I painted. But like there is. I mean, I have a few thoughts on this, but not many that are terribly well formed. Probably because I'm fresh out of it. What's your perspective? Like when? Because I mean, appreciate that you've dealt with a lot of stuff kind of semi recently as well. Like, what's your approach?
Oh no, yeah, this is just we in this 2 weeks we had some things happen too, and it's I will say not anxiety inducing like that at all. It's not going into details, but it's external things that makes that kind of precious economy, I'd say, and it's family related. So that means obviously a lot of talking back and through, back and forth, and we have family in Asia, and we have family in Canada, and we have in Europe, and kind of like piecing things together through time zones and being up so you can catch someone and stuff like that. It creates some pressure, and I will say for me, it meant being kind of tapped out. You're well, and I have a baby 7 months old now who's just constantly screaming because she wants to do things that she can't really yet. So now she's found out, okay, it's cool if you can touch the phone because it lights up, right?
It does light up. It's really good when it lights up.
Yeah. And it does also if it's baby fingers. So when she sees a phone, she screams for trying to touch the phone. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And yes. No, even if it's not lighting up anything, she can recognize the phone. And same with the keyboard. I have a small numpad that she can just clack on because otherwise she will grab for the real keyboard. She can notice things now. She doesn't really understand them, but enough so that she knows she wants that. So now it's just screaming because I can't really tell anyone what I want, but I want this thing. So these days it's 14 hours of like this all the time, never stopping. Sometimes when she's eating, it stops, but not all the time. So it's just, and that's just to say that sometimes some things in your life will be a stress factor. You won't have the energy. And honestly, I think if it wasn't for content, and I knew I had like a time frame to finish up Golden Demon projects for just to kind of wrap it up, because you were away on vacation and we already prepped content, right? So I had me time for Golden Demon projects, which meant I was also stressing to try and get this over with, to not have it be a stress factor going forward, even though it's 40 days to Golden Demon or whatever.
42 days. 42 days.
Yeah.
Don't take 2 days from me, you monster.
Yeah. So it's but I will say if it wasn't for those things, I think I wouldn't have painted. I think I would have sat on the sidelines. I would have interacted with community. I would have done the like, I guess the softer parts, the ones where you're not actively having to sit down, because my wife asked me yesterday and we talked a bit, and I don't think she realized before yesterday how while it is like for people hobby related, you need to concentrate. It is taxing. One thing is sitting at a desk, of course, and you sit still and you do the thing. But when you paint something quite small, you need to be focused. You need to concentrate on it, right? So it it's not like it's fully relaxing. It's not kind of like when you go to the gym or go for a cycle or whatever. Of course you enjoy it as a part of a hobby, but it's not like it's not taxing. It's not like you're expending energy. In this case, it's some physical and a lot mental.
Can I ask,
yeah, go on.
Because you said, obviously you're saying then, like, if it wasn't for these things, I wouldn't have painted.
Yeah.
Do you view that as a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a bit of mix of both, because it meant somewhat added pressure, right? It is a bit of a stressor knowing that you really should sit down. Even though we were good for 2 weeks, you don't want to spend all of that 2 weeks and be like having a deadline catch you once more, because you've created a bit of space for yourself. This is purely in a content mindset, but also I won't say anxiety, but the knowing that maybe you're not painting at your best when you're supposed to be painting at your best because it's for competition. So even just having that in the back of your mind, being a bit uncertain, am I actually doing the best, right? And I will say that sharing pictures helps. People saying, well, that looks really like the best. So, I mean, it's definitely more of an internal thought than anything, but it is a bit of an added stressor. The flip side is, of course, that you get the things done, right? You go back to the desk, you do sit down, you do get the video done, you do get the project finished. And I will say, as much as I hate the last 20% of a project, it's not really the last 20%. It's the 17% before the very last 3%, right? So you get to that very last 3%, everything goes on. It looks great. You look at it, I guess fix one tiny mistake, and then it's wrapped up, it's done. You can put it in the cabinet and you can tick it off, and it feels great for a moment, and then hopefully you don't get into the painting pit. You just get to crack on. Yeah. So I will say it's a bit of both.
It's a really interesting one, because for me, I feel it was positive. And I guess like there's two things that are kind of leading me to say that, I think. One is, before I went on holiday, I was cooking. I was good. Not like, this isn't in the sense of like I was the Andy Wardle and Richard Gray. Like I wasn't but like in terms of like my ability to paint, I was at that top, and I was comfortable. I just finished the Nurgle guy, and I'd moved immediately onto the Space Marine heads for the squad, and painted that first one. And there was a lot on that first head that used to completely flummox me, and I was like, hey, I got this. This is good. I'm feeling good. And then I went on holiday, and in the grand scheme of things, it was 6 days off painting. And I came back, I picked up the brush, and all the confidence had gone. Like, some of that was probably not just the break, it was the other stuff I was dealing with. But like, I went back to painting those heads, and like, first one I painted, and like, I got halfway through, and I'm like, I have to strip this. This hasn't worked. And that really shook my confidence. And this comes back to your point about like, am I painting at the best that I can because this is for a competition piece? The answer was no. But I didn't have a choice, because I guess there's two things that coloring this. Like I and this isn't, dear listener, this isn't false modesty. This is just a realistic sense of where I am as a painter. I'm not competing on the same level Magnus is a Golden Demon. That's just a fact, and that's something that I'm very comfortable with. Like I'm entering what I'm entering for different reasons, and so it wasn't a case of, there's two ways of thinking of it. Like, I'm not at my best. I have to do a different model or something to get that back, and then I can come back to this. It was just a case of, you have to work through this, because if you don't, you will lose too much time. And so that's what I did. I sat down, and I would say, like, there was probably like 4 days of being very uncomfortable on the brush. And I'm not going to lie, a few times I was like, I'm going to hit my big red, send everything to Maunus, button and like have a little bit of a freak out, but I didn't. I'm quite pleased I didn't, actually. And so I just painted, and lo and behold, it slowly came back. And I wouldn't say like, I wouldn't say like now what I'm painting is I'm not 100% back to that feeling before I went on holiday, but I'm not far off. And I'm kind of just like, okay, just take this confidence and put it into the model. Like, and now you're not, speaking frankly on what we're talking, you're not worried about you dying. You're not kind of freaking out about what your family's going to do. You don't have that mental load. So just find the joy. And I am a little bit envious of you, because you are now locked in for Golden Demon, aren't you? You have your 3 pieces. They are spectacular pieces, and you don't have to worry about it. And I'm like,
and we actually talked it over that it was supposed to be okay. No more worrying about it, because 40 days, right? You could
42 days.
42 days. You could push something out if you wanted to.
Yeah, like a squad.
Yeah.
So that's the headspace I'm in right now. Is I have 42 days to paint 3 Space Marines for a squad for Golden Demon. Is it possible? The short answer is I don't know. But I'm looking forward to finding out. I'm not gonna.
It's definitely
if it doesn't
possible.
happen, I'm not going to beat myself up.
No. And you really shouldn't. And I mean, if you don't get all the way there, you can take one for a single, and you can have an almost finished unit that you can finish, and then you can take that single and you can pair it with the others, and for the next competition, you have a unit. I mean, nothing worse than that. And I mean, that was also kind of like, we knew that going into it. Like we talked about the time frame. We talked about, okay, we think it's possible, but you never know, right? I mean,
you never know. But I guess, like, practice point, I kept doing these in our Skin in the Game competition, but then we lost that recording. So, like, that's sad times. But I'm trying to call out, like, when I hear stuff that's like useful advice. And something that I certainly felt with that is, if you are looking at a competition, having somebody or somebodies, but not many, like 2-3 people that you can talk things through, is very beneficial. Because you and I sat down and we were like, here's this and here's that, and what do you think? And you get that different perspective, and that was really valuable. And like, the conclusion we came to is, it's going to be tight, but it isn't impossible.
Let's give it a go.
Yeah, and therefore, and you know what, I'm glad we did, because at the end of the day, this is what I kind of needed to remind myself a few times. I don't paint for competition. I paint because I genuinely enjoy it. Yeah. And like, the fact that this is also for a competition, it's an added stress. I would enjoy it more if I didn't have the stress of Golden Demon. But what if, like, maybe this is a new perspective thing? Like, hey, I'm not dying. What's the worst that's going to happen in the grand scheme of things?
I think you're kind of in a spot where, like, you're painting for joy, and it can go to competition, but definitely as a person and as a painter, you're still mindful that, like, you don't just finish stuff. Well, it's good enough. I'll just slap something on, and you don't, right? If you think it's good enough, you bring it, right? So it's not that you are like, I guess, less invested because it's for fun. It's just a matter of, well, if it doesn't get to be finished, it's okay. But you won't just, I slap a base coat on the back, and I guess it's technically legal in the competition. I'll just put it there. Well, then you won't bring it, right? So
I'm airbrushing it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, just that base, the entirety of the base. Okay, the models look really good, and then just, I'll just give it an airbrush and a wash. It should be good.
Learn my lesson. The base is done. Like this
that is really, really good.
Yeah, that was perfect. The one thing is like I cannot get to the 11th hour and be like,
no,
I've got to do the base. Like, no. So
you will 100% fuck it up.
Yes, and so I know now as each model is complete, it can go on the base, and so I literally have until the 11th hour to be like, this is done, this is ready.
I didn't even know that you finished the base. I'm so happy you did. Yeah, this is news to me. I'm really happy you did.
Well, that was
because I was afraid that, because that's basically, I'd say, another model. So you're really painting 4 in a base, which is 5 models, right? And there is a real difference between having 3 left and 4 left, or 2.5 left and 3.5 left. Yeah, there is. And the 42 days looks good now.
Well, and half-assing the base has been a historical problem for me. So I'm
it's the same for me.
Yeah, I'm coming back from holiday. What do I trust myself to paint? A base. Like I can, spend 4 or 5 days just working on the base, but it's like, okay, base is done now. Like now it's just, and actually, I know. Sorry, I'm turning this into the Bruce Rose squad stress hour, but like. The captain has so much stuff on him. I know that when the captain is done, like, there's 2 models to paint, but they're 2 Space Marines. They're not a Terminator, and they're not a Terminator captain. Like, the dude's sword arm has so much crap on it, like, of like varying materials. Like, I don't have to worry about that when I get to the Primaris dudes. I just need to do some good blue armor, which, I can do. I know I can do, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, we've seen it. And I will say I agree. It's not that when you look at models like you pick out for competition or even just display or whatever, there is a huge difference on like the speed you can paint it to. Because if they are really, really detailed, all kinds of different materials, different colors, you have to be very neat. They're small, so you have to be very focused, and maybe they have like a lot of non-metallics because they always take a bit longer, as opposed to, well, it depends on how you paint your armor, but normally they take quite a while longer, right? So it is really up to the model how much time you can and you have to sink into it. It is the same for me. Definitely.
And I guess I'm a big believer that the best pieces you do are the ones you enjoy doing. Like,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
You can't do a competition piece on a piece you don't like painting. You can, but it won't be as good as if you enjoyed it.
Well, you can't. No, I had the pleasure of being visited yesterday by Malte Dueholm, who's another content creator, and he's doing teaching too. He's here from Denmark, and we got to talk about some of these things. And we specifically talked about, well, how do you create a competition piece? How do you keep the quality high throughout the entirety of the project? How do you gauge which projects are for content and which ones are for competition? And how do you make sure that what you produce is interesting and eye-catchy at the same time because it's content, right? So we talked about a lot of these things, and it was nice to have another person's view, because it really opened my eyes to the fact that we are so different. What for me is is the definite go-to. I've found it out. I know it with myself. Just not the same for you or for someone like Melde or for. I mean, it's just it's so different how you tackle these things as a painter and as a person.
Did you find like common ground? I mean, I know obviously like everyone's different, but like, you know, what are, I guess, what are the, because dear listeners, to frame this kind of correctly, I would definitely view you, and I guess this is kind of what you've said yourself, is like, you know, that the point you're at, the quality of your painting, improvement comes slowly and is minuscule, and you are like very, very good at what you do. And so a lot of your time investment is in teaching people and bringing people up to leveling up their standard. At the same time, you are doing this YouTube thing, you're putting out guides. That is an awful lot to keep in your head. And so what were the commonalities in terms of like, do you approach things similar way? Like what brings you joy? Like what was the same and what was really different?
Yeah, so I will say that we have quite a lot of common ground in the whole teaching and content thing, where I would say that like teaching something and making sure the person that you teach gets it. Yeah, that is absolutely number one, and it's in my opinion, it's what makes good and bad teachers. I mean, we've all went to school, we've had bad teachers, and oftentimes the bad teacher, maybe they're not really a bad teacher, but they were bad for the way you needed to get these things. So that I think the mindfulness of people are different. Sometimes they just don't really get it, and okay, so you attack it from another angle. I mean, you can teach things and concepts and techniques and whatever from multiple angles. So I think for both of us, that is really where we are the most similar, because our styles of painting are vastly different, and how we do competition and how we do how you take your pieces from basically one level to another, and which pieces is not the same at all, because I think it's a preference in how you like to express, because there's no doubt that my way of expressing is quite influenced by the whole Warhammer 40K, like the heavy metal style like that. I'm not painting under heavy metal style, but it is basically an adaptation of it, right? Yeah. Whereas Malte is more, I'd say more artistic, a bit freer in the brush, a bit freer in the colors, a bit freer in the models he chooses for painting. So the styles are just vastly different. And some of that is what you're influenced of, and some of it is also what kind of models you enjoy painting, right? Because you can't do exactly the same things on every model. You just can't. It's not the same painting a bust as it is painting a grot. I mean, well, you can do sketchy whatever on the grot, but you need a really small brush.
Yeah, not quite the same rubric of painting.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. And so I will say that, yeah, we are vastly different in the painting and the style and the how to approach competitions, and because I mean, I will discard a project if I don't feel it anymore, or if I don't feel like I've made some quote unquote mistakes that makes it so I don't feel this will ever be good enough. Maybe it's not even that it's good enough for the competition, but it's not good enough for me, because I really strive for I guess perfection, right? Where I think the flip side of that is you can have fun on a model, you can take it further and further as you go along the project. You can have it be part of your display and you can take it to Finn. It's the difference in competition, right? It's because I get to pick one model. Everything hinges on this one model. I put it into that category. It's my ticket. It's my shot. So I would never take a model that I don't think is the best for that category, right?
It has to be your knockout punch, because if it's not, you're going to flub it, and you're going to be, going to be regretting not.
I would regret looking in the cabinet and thinking, this one is probably better, but I like this one more, right?
Yeah.
I would be regretting it, even though I maybe did what felt right in my heart. Even if you did that, I would still feel like I missed out, right? And I think going more to the open competitions makes it so you are actually a bit freer. They don't look for flaws. They do look for what you did right. And if you are a great painter, you will be doing many things right? So what I'm trying to say is, in my opinion, the range of what you can bring is a bit bigger, because you have a display.
Yeah, it is. Look at the totality of my work, and looking. I
would love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love your totality of work to say, but like it is, when I'm thinking of like, oh, what are the kind of things I'm going to bring to DiddyCon? It is like, it's understanding, oh, I can show this minifigure, but I can show this bust. I'm showing a bit of a range here. Like, this is what I want people to enjoy. And which is not to say that, there are people out there that's just like, I'm a really good bust painter. That's all I paint, and it's bloody good. Like, and you're going to enjoy it, which is fair enough. But there's definitely, when you're looking at building a display, a lot more flexibility, as opposed to the very rigid Golden Demon and a few other formats of, this is the category. If you get one shot, that's the other thing with Golden Demon. You get one entry. You don't get to put, like, I guess, like my experience at MPO, like, you don't get to throw 3 models in and the best one gets a reward, and it happens to be the model you weren't expecting. It's actually like, you have to guess almost, like, what's the one the judge is going to like. And that, I understand why people say Golden Demon is the hardest thing to win, because there is a lot against you in that format at the end of the day.
I think there is. And it's, I mean, you can love it or you can hate it. That's just how that competition is. Yeah. So you will play within those rules, but that's not to say that I look forward to MPO, where I can bring more than one thing, because you can actually bring the things you painted, not just because otherwise this is actually something where we talked a bit about, I think back then it was 48 days or whatever, but 40 something days.
Stop talking about Time's Arrow. It keeps terrifying.
Yeah. And it's much less now.
Stop it.
No, but we were talking about, so maybe you could pick something, or I'm saying I could pick something, have a kind of like a, almost like a secret project, because I share all my projects. But I could maybe contain myself and start a model, finish it within 40 something days, and have a fourth entry or fifth if I take something for open. And it would be doable, I think, but you're looking at picking something that fits into a category you haven't already entered into, and you have to pick something that you think you might like all those hours. Because I can't go and just pick, this one, it looks really, really cool. I really want to paint it. Oh, okay, it goes into AOS single. Well, I already have it. I mean, so you're not free. You're not just bringing basically your best model or your most preferred model. You're gaming the categories in a sense, actually. And I look forward to not doing that. Yeah.
I think my takeaway has been, and we've been pretty upfront about discussing, like, really, like, I'm doing a lot of Golden Demon this year because it's like, hey, I think it's fun. Like, at the end of the day, I kind of enjoy pushing myself. I'm not expecting anything out of it. It is because, hey, we get to see each other in the flesh. That'll be great. Get to see some of the community members who are also across Europe. That's really exciting. And so that's kind of set my head. And I'm actually thinking, well, in future, I would probably, I could see myself entering it again. Of course I could. But I'll probably just I'm just going to pick one model that I'm going to push myself on. I'm not going to I know we've all spoken about like this, like gaming the categories. Oh, not many people enter Lord of the Rings, and therefore like that's your good. It's like
but you can never know.
Yeah, you don't know. Like there could be some absolute savage who thinks, you know what, I'm gonna enter Lord of the Rings because like it's immaterial. Your best bet is to pick something that you really like painting, because if your objective is to win a golden demon, like if that is your objective, which is the objective for a lot of people, let's be honest. You're not going to win that by gaming the categories. You have to be a phenomenal painter if you want any chance of winning a demon. And so, like, I'm like, yeah, I'll enter AOS single. Like, am I beating Albert Font? No, I am not. That's fine. Like, maybe one day I'll be able to compete with Albert Font and I can worry about it. Not worry right now, so I may as well just enter what I like painting, as opposed to thinking like, oh, well, if I do an epic category, it's like, I don't like painting epic models, so why would I like?
Yeah,
why
so
would I
now
worry
you've
about
struggled,
that?
and then you see Richard walk through the door, and you're like, oh god, okay, well, I guess not.
Rich Gray's like, I'm ready to enter Lord of the Rings. I've been waiting for this moment. I'm like, Rich, you asshole.
He's just waiting for you to announce your. No, I agree, and I think it's because obviously I want to win, and I want to square up with the best. I do, but I'm also mindful that any golden demon, like 50, if not 100 people walk through the door, and I can lose to any of them, right?
Yes.
Or lose. So it's not like, okay, it's not that I'm hoping that Font isn't there. I would be hoping that 100 people weren't there.
Yes.
I mean, that's not going to happen. So really trying to game anything or trying to, okay, so Maxime usually goes into whatever category, and it's nothing to stress about because it doesn't matter anyways. Then Frisoni will have picked Lord of the Rings, and he did his beautiful, beautiful elk, and well, he gets the gold anyways. So pick something and enjoy it. And
it's basically impossible to worry. Like, it's impossible to worry about everyone you should be worrying about, because at the end of the day, you can either, I think there's only two ways of approaching this. You can either worry about like externalizing your views on like other painters, like here are the people I'm competing against, I'm hoping that they do a bad job, or and I think that's foolish, because you'll worry about everyone. Or this is the best model I can do at the moment. Am I happy? Yes. Then this is my shot. And if my best shot fails, so be it. Like it's not up to you what the judges think. At the end of the day, like every year we have the drama around. Oh, this is what the judges picked: gold, silver, bronze. Like if you're expecting the judges to pick the objectively best work of art, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, because that's not how art works. And so
also you wouldn't need any judges.
Yeah. Just put it in the AI and have it tell you this is the best one. This hits all the. So I got a very sad dog here. It's fine. She's just sad. Well, at the moment. But like that's the thing. Like we're not here to do a checklist. Oh well, if you edge highlight everything really well, well then you win the golden demon. Not how it works, unfortunately.
No, and also I mean, personally, I view it as I didn't lose because um, Richard's piece was just phenomenal. I lost because mine wasn't good enough, right? It's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to compete against one person, yourself, than it is to compete against everyone else. And it sounds like like it's well, it is, and it is something that is easier said than done. But I'm a firm believer that the more you say it, the more you believe it. Yeah.
And you may be listening to this conversation and thinking, this sounds absolutely awful. And if that is you, fair enough. I get it. Like it is, there is a brutality to the world of competition painting that is, you have to acknowledge. And that's fine. You cannot be for that. You cannot want to enter competitions or things like that. The only thing that I would say in regards to that is, when we're having this conversation about like, oh, these pieces win, these pieces miss out, that's a very divorced from what the reality of competition is. When that you go and you see a load of people that share your passion, that have invested just as much time as you, who are very invested in your world, and you can view that and, oh, these are all my competition, or actually this is my community. These are my friends. And like, this is what, and I know we talked about it on the Discord, is like MPO was just sharing passion about miniatures and having a damn good time. And then, there are awards at the end, but does the fact that, if you wanted a silver and got a bronze, or if you wanted a gold and got a silver, does that cheapen the conversations and the connections you made? Of course not. The community is what kind of keeps you going. That's really what it's there all about.
Yeah, and we boil it down to how well did you do at competition. And it is a bit unfair because it's really not most of competition, not for us at least. I mean, maybe if you are really crunchy and you want the third sword or whatever, maybe it matters more. But at least for us and people that we surround ourselves with, that's basically the metric you can, that's the one thing you can measure. You can't measure the connections you made, and you can't measure the fun you had, and you can't measure the talks you had around dinner and all of those things, right? You can measure how well did you do at the competition, right? And of course we aim for doing the best, but that's just really one aspect of of being away a weekend for Golden Demon, right?
Yeah, there's like, oh, how did you do a Golden Demon? You're never going to be able to answer that properly, which is like, oh, here's all the people I met, here's all the inspiration I got, here's the conversations I had. The answer is, I got a notable, I got a pin, I got it's a compression of what competition is. That's just like a function of how language works, unfortunately. But if you've listened to this sounding, wow, competition sounds brutal, why do people do it? People do it because I think number one, it's a good sense of where you are as a painter. I think number two, pushing yourself for competition improves you as a painter. And number three, the competition is actually a tiny part of what is just a celebration of people that share your passion.
Yeah, meeting people, right?
Right, we've solved that then.
Yeah, but I mean, you will meet people or see people that you wouldn't otherwise, right?
Yeah.
You would never get to meet these people because this is the thing you have in common. And some of them are people that you look up to, perhaps even, that you wouldn't meet. And they are there. They are often approachable. They are why? I mean, that is, if you have a passion for these things, and this is the best way to go and see things and try things and have the talks and meet the idols and stuff like that. Yeah, it definitely is.
And if you're interested in meeting your idol Maunus, a golden demon, we should maybe
look for the t-shirt.
Yes, that's it. T-shirts coming soon. I'm going to link it to our YouTube so people can hopefully buy through there. I have the artwork. Just need to make sure that it can be replicated on the t-shirts in a good way. Sorry, this is merch chat. Look for the t-shirts and come say hello. And I think we've already agreed to like play Magic the Gathering, so this is how it works. Right. So we've solved kind of, this is what you do when your personal life goes upside down. We've solved Golden Demon. That's great. Got that nailed. You alluded to your dearest daughter and her desire to play with phones. How is dad life treating you? We have to loop round to dad chat at all times.
She's doing great. She's doing all the things she's supposed to, and really finding her personality. It's nice to see something that was, well, maybe it wasn't nothing, but it was at least not capable of expressing anything. And then go to be, well, more and more its own person. She's it's fantastic. I've never been part of that journey before, so I treasure it. And yes, it does weigh up for no sleeping and all the stressing, and I hope she's not crying because something is wrong. And all of those things.
It is like, I think a few times in dad chat we've talked about like how difficult it is, because it is difficult. If it was if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth talking about. But like we've had a few conversations on the Discord about like rainbow babies and like babies that come after loss, and like for a lot of people it's not an easy journey. Some people never get to complete that journey, and you cherish it really when you have the opportunity. It is so much work, but it's the best work and outcome I've ever done. Like, I like this miniature stuff. If I had to give it up for my daughter, I'd do it in a second. Like, it's not a conversation. And seeing how these little personalities develop, and you understand, like, oh, you're your own person. There's a little bit of me in you, and there's a little bit of your mum in you, but this is nothing I created. This is all like you, kiddo. And seeing how they grow, challenge you. I get the feeling that my daughter will replace me soon, and that'll be it. And then I can retire, hopefully, and not just kind of be consigned to the garbage heap. But like, so like little. I will say though, we do the dad talk segment every podcast. I will say, I know that there are people who are deliberately not wanting kids. And now that I actually used to be that person. And then life happened and things happened. And well, now I have a baby, right? So things do change or can change. But I will say that now that I've gone into this, the people who are somewhere between uncertain and pretty sure they don't want it, they definitely shouldn't. I agree with them completely. I agree. It is going to be controlling every aspect of your life. You will have to give up everything and then try and squeeze in the things you want. But you're basically giving up, everything. And it's wonderful and it's fantastic and you get all the good things. But it is not at no cost. Yeah.
So if you feel like, well, I want to do all the things that I love, when I want it, how I want it,
with loads of money,
agree. With lots of money and no stress and sleeping well, and you definitely shouldn't. I agree with those people, and I used to be one, and now it's not that I'm happy that I'm here. I really am, but that's not to say, well, you definitely should because everybody should try this. That's not what I'm saying.
To clarify, GitGud is not a neoconservative think tank here to ensure that we all have nuclear families. Yeah, if you want to be child free, you live that good life, and if you want
the beautiful life of joy and Yeah.
But
No stress.
I think that's a generational difference. I do think, like, certainly our generation is far more willing to be like, oh, you don't want kids? Yeah, it's real tough. Don't blame you at all. Like, I would love to go on brilliant holidays every year, but we can't afford that. Like, super get it. Super get it.
Yes, I do.
Live the life that's right for you is 100% the GitGud motto, provided that there's also some painting. We just have to kind of link it.
Yeah. And also painting.
or always be painting. So, right, we covered a lot there, Magnus. I've compressed this ending segment. I'm just changing stuff on the fly, as I know you really like it when I do that and don't warn you.
It's perfect.
So, what are we painting? What are we learning? And the new segment, what have we bought recently?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I quite like spending money in this hobby. This is a good opportunity. Like, what have you bought a little bit recently? And I will try and make it not AK paints every other day, because that's a high chance.
Okay, so I'll do this time.
Yeah, you can. So you go first. What are you painting? What are you learning? And what have you bought?
Yeah, I completed the Golden Demon projects, which means free. So now I'm painting the rest of the Reclusion. And I really want to get this one finished so that it's not another project in the I guess pile of shame. But so I'm pushing for that.
And the Reclusion is the Stormcast.
Yeah. The Stormcast.
Yeah.
It is pretty far along, and I won't finish it to a level that goes to competition, but I will finish it so that it looks very, very good. And I will finish it. So yeah, there's that one. I'm trying to make space so that my own time will be finishing Helgrim, because I still need to do the backside of that one. Yeah. So that's what I'm painting these days. The learning is constant. I think, but it's just so small and subtle things. Everything. I think the learning and the my takeaway, at least for this one, is the amount of gold that gets weaved into the piles of banter on a Discord is absolutely nuts. It is all the small things that, in the end, I think make up big piles of compressed knowledge. I do think so. The small interactions, the talks about cast shadows, or the talks about volumes and light, or the talks about color theory, all of these things, it's just picking up small gold nuggets, and before you know it, you have a bar. I think that is my takeaway from this one.
Nice. So what have you bought?
AK paints. I'm a convert. No, I bought two things. Well, it's not two things, but two different kinds of things. I decided that every time I go by the local game shop or I'm in the vicinity, I go in and I get a couple of AK paints. So at some point, hopefully I have a collection. So when you see a recipe, so when you see a recipe on a model, it's not 7 different brands and all kinds of obscurity.
I think you're good for that. It's generally Citadel, Reaper, and AK, and maybe the occasional Vallejo.
Yeah, it is. It's those 4 usually. But still, it means people will have to find alternatives, and which is not a bad thing necessarily, but sometimes people want to just grab the bottle. And so I'm slowly building towards that. And the other thing is, I got the Dwarven Lords on Shield. Ooh, yeah. I have not. I obviously opened it and looked in the box but I took nothing from the sprue, and I am keeping it for a time where I can dedicate some time to get it started. I'm excited for
that is a U model. That is
it. It really is.
So
it really
excited.
is, and it is crisp, and it is plastic, and it's all the things that I love. Yeah, it definitely is.
I mean, some of the Citadel like models have just been bangers at the moment. Like it's outrageous how good some of them are. Like, and
this one is not an exception.
Yeah, and like good that it's kind of like a different setting as well. Like, if anything, I've been looking to AOS and some of the old world stuff and getting really inspired. Not so much the 40k stuff, which is a shame. There's still some really good 40k stuff, but it's weird how that's shifting a little bit.
Yeah, for me, I'm definitely drawn more to AOS, and then the I'd say the updated things from old world.
Yeah,
and I used to be all 40k actually, so yeah, I did.
They've got to get you back. They've got to pull you back. Got to get you painting more Space Marines.
Then they need to do those Blood Angels. Ugh. Well,
no, this is drama, Magnus.
Okay, yeah, we're not going to go deep into that. So let's hear what your.
So I'm painting Space Marine Captain in Terminator armor. That is it. Like, it is a gorgeous model. Like, it's one of the more recent ones. It has a lot of stuff on, but I actually like now that the head's done, the sword arm is nearly done. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is white cloth, because I've never really painted white and I know it's quite difficult, and so that'll be a learning experience. But I know once I've broken the back, done most of the model, I'll be like, right, come on now, this is the home stretch. And like we said, if I don't complete it, I'm not
but you will.
I think I will because I'm that kind of stubborn asshole that will do that.
Yeah.
And if it means like I'm staying up 12-hour nights and not sleeping, it's kind of probably what I'll end up doing. But that's my own unhealthy. If you're listening to this, you don't have to do that. There are healthy ways to be in this hobby. And then learning. I mean, it's interesting what you said about the Discord, because we have a very active Discord, a very active community, and I always read everything, because like you say, there'll be something. There was some of the idle talk about conversation that some people had put, and I was like, wow, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. That changes my perspective a bit. And even if they're conversations I'm not taking part in, I still learn a lot from them. I think from my perspective, the big learning, other than my number one thing I want more than anything is confidence on the brush, that's a personal thing. That's something I know I need to search for and maintain now. Is understanding that you cannot punish yourself for painting. It is like,
I agree.
There is, if you are just doing something because you feel you have to, you're never going to do anything bar the bare minimum of what gets you through. Like, that is not the way you can ultimately treat your hobby. It's not sustainable. And there's a different future. I didn't get such good news this week, and it would have been like, okay, well, I'm just going to abandon the hobby for a bit because I can't maintain the facade of like just carrying on. I know some people are different, but that for me is like, if I'm not putting good positive energy into the work I'm doing, it's not going to be great. And actually, when that's maintained, I know that my style comes out, which is something that I have been learning recently, is, this is my style.
Yeah.
I never thought I had one, but now I see my style in this. I understand what it is and what it involves. And that's really joyous when you realize what that is and you can lean into it in certain ways.
It's really exciting finding out that you have one.
Yes. And, well, I think everyone has one. It's just a case of,
everybody has one.
And we've seen that in the competition pieces, like the monthly challenges. I know that's a Rudy piece. I know that's a Simon piece. I know that's a Mir piece. That's really like cool. And then like seeing them in person and looking forward to seeing some of your models in the flesh. I'm very excited by. We can finally find out how badly you've been photoshopping them.
Yeah, and we can take some honest pictures, right?
Yes, I'm going to bring my good camera and we're going to take the good pictures, and I'm sure they'll be spectacular. In terms of what I've been buying, I'm going to see if I can reach this. I can. So I did something not necessarily what I usually do. Is I bought a bust. Well, it's a 75mm figure. It's the Usurper from Mindworks. There we are on the top. And I'm surprised I bought this, but I was looking at it, and when I first saw the model, I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. There's a few things maybe I don't like about it. But then I had an idea, an inspiration, and I couldn't get the idea out of my head. So I'm just going to have to paint it. And I don't know when I'm going to paint it, but that's the thing.
Not the next 42 days, at least.
No. And then I've got to paint a Halgrim for Rich Grey. I mean, it's not for Rich Grey, it's for his competition. And then I've got to finish my Skin in the Game entry.
Yes.
So I think realistically, the rest of my year in painting is actually sorted. But number one, that doesn't stop me buying new things, because of course not.
No.
And two, like, it's actually reasonably rare for me to see a piece and have quite immediate inspiration, and so I really wanted to lean into that for once. The other thing, which is not as interesting, is I bought some VMS super glue. If you've ever watched MVP of Armor and Historical Tanks Night Shift, you'll know he's a big VMS fan. But the thing I like about this Flexi super glue is they sell super glue debonder. And so I can glue stuff and debond it, which is going to be hopefully useful.
That's crazy. I've never heard of that, actually.
Debonder. This is the future. And so they do this is a listener, this has not been sponsored by VMS, I can assure you. They do, see if I can reach it. They do black super glue. Yeah. This is Flexi cytocrylicine or whatever it's called, but it's black. And so it sets black. You can see there the bottle is black.
Yeah.
And what Night Shift does is he'll be super gluing things, and because then he can see the super glue because it's black, he uses the debonder to get all the excess away, so it's just the bit that he's glued.
God dang.
I know. And there's someone that like has been, shall we say, a little unneat with super glue in the past.
Well,
I'm
looking at him.
Yeah. Yes, I am looking forward to having the option just to wipe the excess away with the super glue debonder. So yeah, that's the future. Oh, and as we said in the pre-record, I got a new pot of water.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of money, turns out. But when you're stressing about your health, that shopping cart is real tempting.
Yeah, I just need some immediate excitement. Put something in the basket.
give me that sweet
it doesn't
dopamine.
matter anyways. If you're dying, you're dying, right? So
that's it. Like I'll just
well spend it.
I'll give it all to you. I'll leave all my AKs to Magnus in my will.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay then. Any final thoughts? Any final words, Magnus?
No, I think the final words here is try and enjoy painting. Try to not drag yourself down. Try and not tell yourself that you're doing bad. Try and encourage as much as possible. And we have a whole don't stomp the flowers thing going. And I believe it's real, because the more you say it, the more you will believe it.
Yeah.
I think so. So it's not that you have to say, well, all my work is just perfect. But at least don't drag yourself down too much.
Don't And that's something that a few people have called me up on. I think like you will always see your work in a different light than other people. Yeah. And you can't, if that's all you see, if you don't believe people when they say like, what are you on about? You are a little bit insulting them. So bear that in mind. Like when someone says, hey, this is really good.
Yeah.
Trust them. Like believe it when people tell you things, because they're not like this hobby isn't necessarily like stuffed with people that will just tell you stuff to make you feel good. It's not really that scene. So yeah, when someone tells you they like your stuff, take heart in it, because it's
important. They probably do.
Yes, they probably do. And then I think my closing word is just appreciate it. I've had 2 awful weeks. I'm looking forward to things feeling normal and sane. And you never appreciate that in the moment. You have to have bad times for the good times to feel good. And certainly we've had some bad times, but we're looking forward to getting back to regularly scheduled programming and Golden Demon and all the rest of the year up ahead. So that's it for this episode. As always, if you like this content, please consider subscribing to us on YouTube. It really helps. Or if you want to support us a bit more, we have our Patreon, which you can find linked via our YouTube, or you can go to our website, GitGudPainting.com, to find out more. We have many tutorials currently. If you're interested, Manus alluded to it. We have the Stormcast tutorial series, which is currently coming up on Patreon, and so you can follow along and paint along in that kind of beautiful greenish steel that you've created. Which but that is it for now. Keep painting, get good, and get out of here. Thank you so much.